In this part 4 video of making the 7x4 arch tree backdrop, I'm going to share exactly how to install the curved sections with 3/8 bendable plywood. The first part of the process is to measure out the length of the internal section. You'll want to do the inner section first, because if you start with the outer section, you won't be able to get the drill inside to fasten everything together. I would recommend using a string to determine the length that you'll need, as this can vary, and you'll need wood glue and 1 1/4 inch brad nails to complete this part of the process. Though I would recommend using one piece of plywood. To maximize material, I used multiple pieces. Using one solid piece will give you a cleaner look. Since you're installing everything from behind the front board, you'll want the width to be 11 1/4 inch. And then you'll want to start working on the internal supports. Though I used to make strips, I now find it easiest to make larger supports so it can support the inner and outer sections. For those size pieces, you'll need 11 1/4 by 9 1/4 inch. And I did 7 of them in total. And this section is just me double checking it to make sure it would fit perfect. And I did use the combination of wood glue and brad nails to secure it in. To attach this trim, you will need to use the brad nail gun and shoot it from the front of the board. Be sure that all the brad nails countersink, as you will fill that in with wood filler later. I did have to use the hammer at times because my brad nail gun was acting up. You do need to be careful, as 3/8 is pretty thin. You might have to correct some of the nails. Then started working on the middle section where I joined those two pieces. There was a small gap in between, so I did have to adjust it by cutting a very thin piece and filling in that section. But not to worry, because between the wood glue, the wood filler, and a few brad nails, after it was all said and done, you couldn't tell the difference. I then continued to add additional supports. You'll notice a few pieces were painted black, as I used some of the scraps that I already had. And just to reiterate, you need 11 1/4 inch by 9 1/4 inch pieces. And I did use the wood glue and the brad nails to secure it in. But for extra support, I did throw in a couple 1 1/4 inch wood screws. And I made sure that they were countersunk on the front, so I could go back later and fill it with wood filler. Once you finish adding the necessary supports, then can measure out the top section for the top curve. And again, I recommend using one solid piece for best results. But make sure to put all your questions in the comments. Follow for the remaining parts where I will be installing the top section. And like always, thank you for watching.